about the data. So data, of course, should be very high quality. So garbage in, garbage out, methodology. So we have to be careful. We talked about the people, so upgrading the people, upskilling the people. So universities, governments, they need to take some actions. And the technologies, so we might have technologies, but emerging markets maybe not need quantum computing right now. But of course, it is an ambition should be completed in the following years. And the fourth one is, of course, use cases, the areas. So which use cases should be selected and should be implemented. And of course, from the Hoxton Ventures, from Pablo, we heard amazing thing about the labor market. So it is the economy stuff, right? Supply and demand should be the same. And of course, the governments need to increase the productivity of the laborers. So I think AI is an amazing tool. So today, we see that the improvements are related to AI and it affects the economy. This is great. But of course, this session is very important for us. So I was set. But of course, I want to introduce both all of you. Why? Because of course, you can have amazing tools, amazing technologies, but without the fairness, responsible AI, and trustworthy, you cannot build anything. And today we have lovely speakers. So I want to start with Gül. So Gül is from Meta. She's leading a product. She's working as a product and group director of the apps and gaming area. It is lovely. I'm sure everyone has a question about the AI and also data, because your business model based on the data. But of course, we will get the questions during the reception, because we believe that, I'm jumping one topic to another, but we believe that today is very important in terms of the AI, but also about the connection when network areas is built. So we need people to connect it. So I think questions will be gathered there.
Sure.
So she also has a background from Microsoft and also Show TV, and graduated from the Boğaziçi University. Thank you very much for joining. Darko, I love this company. So it is called Causal Lens. It is about the causality. When we look at the AI and its background, we always see that the statistic and correlation is the base of it. But really, his company is changing everything. And 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, we met together. We had a lunch with a Nobel Prize winner who is Guido.
Guido, yeah.
Thank you very much. It was lovely. We spoke about the power of the AI and causality. What does it mean, really? We need to understand the reasons of the models to provide the real output with a great, quality. So I think your company will be amazing today to discuss.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, Meryem. Meryem is a young entrepreneur. She is very successful, and she built a company called Titanema. So it is all about the large language modeling. So today, if you look at our lovely speakers, we have, of course, industry and 3 academicians plus LLM model users. I think it will be very insightful. Your comment will be very insightful. And of course, Dr. Ömer, he is a founder of the Oxstructure and CEO, and also he's a lecturer in Oxford University. So having you here is amazing, because you have a 10 years experience about the large language modeling. So your all input will be great. So I want to sit and start the session, but I just want to show myself before starting anything. So thank you very much. So starting with the Gül, really, we know that the Facebook or Meta with the new name is changing the industry and everything. Of course, we want to hear the positive side of it, because we believe that you are having lots of interaction with customers and you are trying to change the company. So could you please give us a little bit, what do you think about the ethical side of it, to make sure we are maximizing the potential of the AI?
Yeah, of course. And maybe first I should start with what I am doing at Meta and how will I answer your question. So I am working at Meta for 10 years now. It was Facebook at that time, so it's still difficult for me to say Meta. But I am working with digital native companies who are mobile apps, and also gaming companies in the gaming industry, and we are giving some kind of consultancy to them, how they can grow their businesses with our platforms like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, how they can grow their businesses using our AI-driven products. So I am in the marketing side of the things, and they are utilizing our advertising tools, and most of them, all of them, are AI-driven, and this helps them to reduce their costs and reach to the larger audiences that they don't know, whether they would like to expand to a new market, or whether they would like to go deep dive within their market. So these kind of tools we are providing them and the consultancy. So that's what I'm doing at Meta. But today I would like to give a little bit wider perspective, represent Meta in a wider terms, and respond to your question on how we are trying to maximize the potential of AI while trying to keep the platform safe, keep the platform private, and also try to be inclusive and also fair. So all of them are like a puzzle, and it is difficult to do everything in one place. So that's the job of the company these days. And maybe I should put our approach in 3 buckets. One is on the product side. The second one is, I said, that I am working, our partners like the advertisers or the content creators. And the third bucket will be the AI ecosystem. So we have 3 different approaches, aspects, not approaches, but aspects of this AI work. And internally and externally, we call it responsible AI, so that AI should be responsible of thinking these aspects. When we look at the product side, maybe I can just give a couple of examples on these 3, and then I will talk a little bit about on what we think that these technology companies these days should take actions on produce responsible AI. So the first bucket is our approach. Number 1 thing is the product, as I said. So in every product, AI is like an air in the company, so it's everywhere. It is decentralized, it's in every organization. And most of the things are produced and decided with AI. And we are trying to keep our platforms, as I said, inclusive, fair, and also safe. And maybe I can start with inclusiveness. I think from the previous panel we talked about the languages and being the proximity bias to languages, and also having a small data set from developed markets, so that might bring some kind of biases to the AI. And here, what we are trying to remove those kind of barriers in front of people, and try to give the opportunity to every people speaking their language in our platforms, and try to understand each other without language barrier. Like an example, you see a post in Instagram, I wrote it in Turkish, and you read it, but you don't understand Turkish, do you?
A little bit. My wife is Turkish. So
all right, no, so you are not a good example. Anyway, and someone non-Turkish speaking person, they see my post and they just push the button, see translate, and it's in English, and they already know what I'm talking about. And these kind of developments help people to connect each other, and that's obviously our mission. And in our platforms, we are trying to maximize this. And with an initiative, it is not just in our platforms, because what we do, we always try to do it open source. And we have a project called No Language Left Behind. If you don't heard about it, please Google it, and it's an amazing project. And with this AI behind it, we are now translating. We are translating 200 languages in our platforms. 5 years ago, it was 12 languages. So it's in 5 years now we come to 200 languages. And think about this in the commercial side, like in WhatsApp chatbot, for example, you are talking maybe Chinese, but the person, they don't know about Chinese, but they can translate it into their language, Turkish, let's say, and then they speak Turkish, and the person hears it in Chinese or reads in Chinese. So this kind of, or in the academic side, the researchers in the language that students don't know, they can easily turn it to their language, and they can utilize. So lots of aspects on the inclusiveness side. But I think this is one example. The other example, I think, is the custom emojis and avatars. So everyone uses here. So in the previous panel, I have some kind of, like concerns that am I getting this right or not? But this one, I think everyone knows, using the emojis, using the avatars. And if you notice lately, we have variety of emojis to represent almost every identity from society. So that's one of the main goals, that no one should feel behind or ignored, etc. And I will give some examples from our culture. You might remember earlier days when you put maybe pray, it's just like this. But this is not from our culture. This is our culture, and we have it now in WhatsApp. So some people are using this, some people other, but they don't feel like staying behind. And the other thing, maybe you might remember the evil eye. We have evil eye in WhatsApp. We didn't have this kind of emojis lately. So lots of other examples, but these two, which are relevant to most of the Turkish people, I just wanted to give example. And the other, I think, important thing is the safety and privacy, other than inclusiveness. Safety and privacy are a little bit tricky, because you have to keep the values in balance. While you are trying to be safe, the opposite might be the freedom of speech. So you might remove a little bit freedom of speech to keep platforms safe. So you have to balance these values. So it's tricky. Or privacy versus efficiency. I will give an example from the safety versus freedom of speech. So our AI helps us to detect harmful content, harmful speech in our platforms. And 82% of these harmful speech is recognized by the AI tools. And it was 25% 5 years ago. 7% was manual 5 years ago, and 25% was automated and with AI, but now it's 82%. And you might say that now it's a little bit tricky. Why? Because you are removing the content, and maybe it's biased, maybe you are the decision maker. But we have solutions to that as well. So we have oversight board. Have you ever heard of oversight board? I don't know. Oversight board is an independent, reputable people coming together to decide on the edge cases, like, is it correct to remove this content from Facebook? We say, yes, we will remove. But if it's in the edge case, how we understand that, people just claim that this should be on Facebook, you can't remove it. And then this oversight board just discusses and sees if it should be on Facebook or not, or Instagram or not. And we have lots of cases that they just decide, yes, it should remove, and it's against our decision, and it stays in the platform. So it's like being open and transparent. So we try to be not decide everything us, but it's like building a community, reputable, credible community, and they decide this. So another I think example would be around, again, safety, privacy, values. We sometimes reverse the technology. So it's not always improving the technology and finding the great opportunities, but it's sometimes you have to reverse the technology. You might remember on Facebook we have face recognition, and you don't need to think about those pictures. We just identify you and you tag yourself. But when you think about the privacy concerns, it is not a great thing, right? So that's why we removed this technology now, and we deleted 1 billion people's facial recognition frameworks in the system. And it is same for detailed advertising. We reversed the technology. What we did, below 18, you can't target, advertisers can't target below 18 people other than just age and gender and location. So you can't go detail for the youngsters. Before, you could do it. Or you can't go and target people with their religions or sexual tendencies or ethnicity. So we removed all these kind of targeting options. So this is reversing the technology, but this is like choosing the privacy over efficiency or effectiveness, let's say. And yeah, this was on the product side. I think it's a little bit long. But the second one is the advertisers. I already mentioned we provide cost-efficient and and AI-driven products so that they don't need to have too much, let's say, people to manage their campaigns, or they shouldn't be a big companies to find their audiences on our platforms, because we are democratizing the system, because it's open, everyone can come and just try to build their audiences. So it's democratizing the marketing and content generation when you compare to the traditional channels like the TV or any other place, let's say. And the third one, third aspect is the ecosystem, as I said. So with the ecosystem, of course, there's a big debate who will own these technologies, these AI technologies. Should it be the big companies like us, like Meta, Google, etc., or it should be larger society at large? So we think that it should be open. We are on the open side, but debates are continuing, and what we are always after is just owning the openness. And it is in our history. We're already doing this with PyTorch, with the machine learning framework. We already do this with the Llama. Just yesterday, we launched Llama 2, and it's open sourced in partnership with Microsoft. So we are on the openness side. Of course, it should be in balance, but still we see benefits more compared to being private. And yeah, these are the aspects of responsible AI. And what should be technology companies doing? What are the steps that they should take? We think number one thing is the openness, transparency. They should tell about what they are doing, how they are doing. For example, for Meta, on Instagram, do you know how we rank the posts? Why do you see a post on the first place or the other in the second place? How many of you know this? None? I would expect one.
I expect John from
John.
Meta, so.
Yeah, actually we explain the AI behind all these decision makings in the content, why you see certain posts, and also the ranking, not just seeing it, but the ranking. So you can find it, you can Google it, and you can find it like the ranking, Meta, AI explained kind of, I don't know, inputs. And we have 22 sections explaining the feed, ranking, stories, explore, notifications. Why do you get sometimes notifications but sometimes you don't? So there are lots of AI behind it, and you can see it. So this is openness, we believe. And the second one is it should go hand in hand with the society, like the industry, government, and academia, etc. And the third one, AI systems should be stress tested. We do this. We have a team called Red Teaming. So they are stress testing our AI products. So they are trying to act like bad guys and trying to find the gaps in the system. So this helps us to improve our systems. And we do this not just internally, but also externally. And the fourth thing, I think we believe, not but we believe as Meta, companies should share the details of their work publicly. This is what we are trying to do, and it gives the clarity, it gives the opportunity to others to learn and collaborate more. So we are on the more openness side.
Super. I really enjoyed what you say about covering all areas of the company. So I have a list of questions, but I lost during the reception, especially for Meta. But I have a good comment. Yeah, thank you. I have a comment about your decision to remove the data of face recognition. This is a big, bold decision, right? What the manager or who was the CEO take this decision? I really want to thank to him, because when you look at the corporate side, the CEOs, etc., they really enjoy with having a short-term, profitability, or they don't want to kill any product or services. But when you see that it is a bit private and it's a bit dangerous for the customer or individuals, having this kind of bold movement is amazing. Really, really thank you very much for the discussion.
Yeah, it's about balancing the short term and long term goals.
Yeah.
So in the short term, yeah, it might be profitable, but in the long term, you don't people don't feel safe in the platform.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to remove it.
It will be a churn reason of the customers, right? I expect it. Thank you very much, really. Very insightful.
Thank you.
Darko, causality. Like, we believe that this area will disrupt this sector, right? We are talking about the AI, we are talking about lots of LLM models. I think with LLM and all of this large language model predictions, it becomes important. Could you please give us a little bit detail about what causality is, what your company, and also what you try to achieve?
Absolutely, yes. Causal reasoning is actually a hallmark of human intelligence. It's something that babies, when they grow up, they learn causality before they learn how to speak or understand words. They understand, when certain thing happens, that maybe food is coming, they can grasp this concept of causality since they're very, very small. Machines, on the other hand, today's AI doesn't really have this concept of causality. It's unable to understand it. Let me give you an example. If we give some data to the AI, which is, say, number of shark attacks in a beach in Sydney and the number of ice cream sold at the same beach, what we will find is that they are perfectly correlated, 99.99%. But as a human, we know that shark attacks and ice creams have nothing to do with each other. They just happen to happen when the weather is warm. When people go to the beach, they eat ice cream, they swim, they get eaten by sharks. So the causal driver here is the warm weather. It's not, and so if we are asked to make a decision about how to sell more ice creams, maybe the causal driver is reducing the price of ice cream. That leads to more sales. Putting more sharks in the water does not cause more ice creams to be sold. And as humans, we understand this. We don't really need to think very much about it. But if we just give an AI algorithm today this data, it will learn that these things are correlated, and it will try to make decisions based on that. And of course, that then leads to lack of trust when we use these algorithms in the real world. And it's not surprising that 85% of all AI projects remain in the lab. They never leave the lab because they contain tons of examples of shark attacks and ice creams inside. Soon as the data scientists give it to the business says, I don't trust this because it has this example here that makes no sense in the real world. And so that's a significant problem, and there's a huge problem with adoption of AI. And actually the regulators are catching up on this. The EU regulation explicitly calls this fact out, and it says unless the model has causal understanding and causal reasoning, it cannot be used in high-risk applications. Essentially anything that affects an EU citizen, wherever they live. So think about loan approval or mortgage approval. Right now you have, data scientists just throw a lot of data into this, and the algorithm says yes, no, right? And the data scientist, has best intention. They remove all the variables that are sensitive. Maybe they do not include the ethnic group into the algorithm, and they feel good. But maybe they include the postcode because they think postcode seems reasonable, it doesn't seem protected. But actually, if you have a causal understanding of this system, you'll understand that certain ethnic groups live in particular postcodes, so there's actually a correlation between ethnic group and postcode, and effectively you're making a decision based on ethnicity, which is a protected variable. So that's one example where the EU is saying we can no longer have this correlation-based algorithms in the real world that affect the livelihood of our people, whether they get a mortgage, whether they get a loan, whether they go to university. And so my company pioneered causal AI. And this technology now is being used and evangelized by all of the digital natives, so Amazon, Microsoft, Salesforce, Uber, and so on. But that's a handful of companies that have the resources to build and deploy this technology. The rest of the world just has access to this technology that gives them shark attacks and ice creams kind of problems. So we developed a product that allows everybody else to adopt this technology much faster without spending hundreds of millions and many, many years. And we're very, very excited. Gartner put causal AI as one of the most important and emerging AI technologies. And just finally, I just want to put the context of causal AI versus all of the generative AI hype we have currently. So generative AI is very good when it comes to text, speech, images, right? It's very, very good at understanding unstructured data. So if we have, I'm sure you'll talk all about that, and it's wonderful technology. I think there's huge values, huge use cases, huge value we can derive from it. The trouble though is that there is a tool 3. You get a great synergy between understanding unstructured data and then being able to reason. And of course there's actually, and we're working on this, there's an opportunity to actually make LLMs and other generative AI technologies better at reasoning. So right now they're just predicting the kind of the next word, and they don't really understand, and therefore they hallucinate and lead to all sorts of things. So there's actually an opportunity to put causal AI inside a language model to help it to reason a little bit better. So that's kind of a broad overview and how we fit into the whole AI ecosystem. Otherwise, I can talk to you guys later if you like about use cases of this technology. We have some very, very exciting customers that use this. Cisco, for example, manages the entire supply chain through our technology. Total Energies manage entire kind of renewable footprints. Bosch manages their manufacturing processes, and so on. So it's really, really exciting use cases for the technology in the real world as well.
Perfect. Really, really nice to hear. So I think when we look at the large language models, right, it is the prediction of the next word when we look at this stuff, right? The machine try to catch the idea, try to understand and interpret it to make sure it is happening. So I think causality is the most important part, and I'm sure large language modeling is a word more than 20 years, right? But now when we look at those guys in San Francisco or Silicon Valley, they somehow solve this causality problem that they predict the next word amazingly. So I'm sure the causality is an amazing topic, and next 5 years, 10 years, it will be a super enjoyable. So fascinating.
From same college.
Yeah. Really same college. Wow. So it's amazing. I'm sure you have
techniques in the academic literature that were making these models really, really easy to use and achieving really fantastic results. Probably similar to how the big hyperscalers use your kind of technology, but it just wasn't available to most people because, well, when I say people, I mean companies. They weren't able to dig through that research. So it's a really great opportunity to kind of bridge that gap between what's there in the deep learning research and what businesses are able to do. So what we do now at Titan ML is we help businesses build private and local LLM models. So models that are trained on their data that can be deployed on their hardware, even if they only have CPU hardware. And what that means is we're able to protect data privacy. We're able to ensure that the model really understands your industry and your particular use cases, and it's completely within your control, and it's very, very safe. And these kinds of techniques that we use to help businesses do this are the exact same kind of techniques they use at OpenAI, but we're just making them accessible to normal businesses. I mean, I'm very, very excited by what we're going to see with the growth of LLMs. And I think there was a phrase that, we always, you guys said in the previous panel, overestimate what we're going to see in the next, year, but underestimate in the next 10. I think that's true when it comes to business adoption. I think that's wrong when it comes to the actual technology itself. The actual technology itself is, so whatever expectations you have of what we're going to see in the next year, multiply it by 10, and then maybe that again, and then you might actually get close to what we're seeing. We're really seeing that exponential curve, and it's very, very difficult for us to conceive of exponentials, but we are, from a technological point of view, than I think a lot of people are realizing, at least when it comes to the tech.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then I want to change the format right now. Rather than giving a comment, I have a question. So when we look at the growing markets, compared to Europe, how do you see the growing markets like Turkey, right? So when we look at the regulations, all the activities, how the LLM model, because this is not in English. I know that from my personal experience, the language model is great. It's giving really result about the Turkish, but how do you see the development there, that side?
What do you mean by that?
From ethical point of view, when you look at when you separate the growing country from the Europe, They have a different regulation, right? Do
Yeah.
you think that from ethical point of view or bias of it, do you
Yeah.
think it will grow easily? Like, how do you see the growing markets when you compare?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things from ethical points of view. So I think first on let's start with data protection because I think that's easiest. Although in Europe,
use because if it wouldn't happen, like I think it would cost like around $2 million or $3 million to train that kind of model. So yes, we're living in the age of LLMs. I'm not sure like how many of you is aware of this technology. Was aware 3 years ago, but now I think we're pretty aware. At least we know ChatGPT, like which is type of an LLM. I just want to slightly expand it to not only ChatGPT but the other LLMs as well. So I just read a report like which was published 2 months ago, like analyzing 45 different LLMs, and out of them, like 2/3 was mostly published by American companies and a few universities, and the rest, not surprising to me, but maybe for you, from China and other Asian countries. And guess what? Like none of them were proposed by any European countries. I think only one from Israel. So obviously, like we have DeepMind in the UK. Like some of them were proposed by UK. I think this is a problem. So there are several messages I want to convey throughout this conversation, and this is one of them. I think considering like 25 years ago, the beginning of search engine era, it started to dominate the whole world. Like Google started to dominate the whole world, like many of the countries, excluding a few, maybe China and Russia. I think we shouldn't let it happen this time. So what I'm trying to say is like, I'm trying to explain it from the perspective of UK and Turkey. We should have some serious policies on investing more education. Again, another estimation for OpenAI to train one model like GPT-3 at one run, I think it's cost like $12 million. I'm working in the academia at the same time, like I have a startup which is small, so we don't have the resources to invest into that. Like we need GPUs, we need to get access to data, we need some workforce to create the data, so on and so forth. Even just like you mentioned, so I will refer to I think each bit of this conversation. Like you mentioned data anonymization, it's a huge field. I'm working with one of the biggest, as a consultant to one of the biggest job listing companies, and they're trying to apply some techniques to automate the video, like the HR procedures by analyzing video interviews. But like when we get into the field, we just realize that it's pretty controversial. Like you train some models, you fed the data, and then you have these scores like whether a person is hireable or not. But there are many parameters like the accent, background, and many other things that you can't. So we directly make the project opposite, just trying to give feedback to the people who are making interviews. So this is just one example. At the beginning of pandemic, like we started a project funded by Amazon, like as a response to COVID, and I just realized quite a lot of problems in the healthcare area, such as we were trying to automate the generation of systematic reviews, and like considering the workload of physicians, even in the UK. I even don't want to talk about Turkey. Like I just generated a set of interviews, and like I just realized that almost like 90% of the academic publications are get rid of under review of the people who are writing these reports. And then I suddenly realized that, okay, so there's a problem here, it's sort of like broken. And during these interviews, obviously, like I was having some feedback from these physicians, like I could feel their anxiety on if they are feeling like being replaced or not, and also like to try to understand the potential of these LLMs. So I was predicting we will be also this is a perfect way to train a model, because these people are like under pressure trying to see more patients. Like any physician coming from Turkey visiting UK, like they feel like when they're observing at Oxford University hospitals or some other institutions, like they feel like it's pretty straightforward to be part of this NHS system. But there are cons as well, because they couldn't invest enough amount of time to do research. like maybe they invest their weekends or evenings to write some papers. So we need to use these LLMs, our proprietary LLMs, not only OpenAI or other commercial ones, train them or fine-tune them and be part of. If we make the exam harder and harder, like, which means that in practice, to define some problems, that the answer is only possible if you retrieve the parts of the answer from different pieces and do some reasoning on this. So, like, these are some problems that our physicians need, like, or that we need to do in the drug discovery or in clinical decision support systems. So another thing in education, right? So there are excellent tools. If you visit educational fairs in London, like companies, especially from South Korea, are developing excellent solutions like to optimize the curriculum. So this is a key thing for school owners or directors or teachers. But I think only some schools have resources to obtain these technologies, and here comes the unfairness. Like, how about the public schools? How about the grammar schools, or let's say science schools in Turkey or gymnasium in Germany, right? So we should be aware of this as well. Like, and
open 8 more offices in different countries, including France, Germany, Italy, India, etc. So we will assign the people. I'm the first one. This is really honored. Thank you very much, our dear president. The last one is, of course, this is always one-sided discussions. We are just talking ourselves and sharing our ideas, but we want prefer people to discuss both-sided. So we have a reception. We just want all of you to connect together, share together, and come to our next session in the near future. Thank you very much.
You guys cannot have used that as well, right? Did you go through conception?
What is consumption?
Cool.
Some sort of accelerator.
No, compliments. IQ capital. Yes, that's how I know. I did show them all the ways that
Do you have investment from IQ?
No, we know them pretty well there. You've done a couple rounds since then, right?
Yes.
What round are you on now?
We did 45 in Series A last.
It's a big Series A.
Yeah, it's very big.
Is that your last round? Or you
Last
can do
round,
more?
yeah. So I guess on the way to Series B now.
Oh, you're going to do more rounds? You're not going to become comfortable?
We'll try.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting us.
This is lovely.
How do we get this?
We need AI first.